Tonight we sit at the base of Mount Olympus, long before its peaks caught lightning's fire, or at least, long before stories painted that fire in bright roaring strokes. Our guide is Zeus, whose name often rings with thunderbolts and throne room drama. But beneath the lightning flash lies a gentle presence, a god who cherished hospitality, taught hospitality's rules, heard the softest plea, and watched mortals from cloud-soft seats. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, and let us know where you're watching from. What time is it for you right now? When you are ready, we begin our first spacious scene, dawn on the summit, where sunrise unfolds at Zeus's feet, unseen by mortals but felt in every waking heart below. Mount Olympus sleeps in a soft hush before sunrise. Its two highest peaks slice the dark sky, but their edges are blurry in the half-light. A slow wind slides down the slopes, carrying a faint scent of pine and cool stone. Far below, villages lie under blankets of mist, roofs hidden in silent gray. At that same moment, high above the world, Zeus stands barefoot on a wide ledge of marble gray rock. His robe is woven from cloud threads, pale and light. He stands very still, feeling the air on his skin, waiting for the day's first breath. In the west, a lone star, Arcturus, flickers once, then fades. It is the star Zeus used long ago to guide sailors across dark seas. Now, its dimming marks a quiet moment. The old light makes way for new light. Zeus watches that small spark die, thinking not of loss but of care. Even in darkness, a single guide can matter. He smiles, knowing today's sunrise will shine for everyone below. A single ribbon of rose gold cuts the horizon. Clouds below Zeus drift like slow ships, their silver hulls catching dawn's first blaze. When light touches Olympus's snows, they inhale warmth and exhale soft steam. Zeus tilts his chin upward, feeling each sunbeam as though it were an old friend's gentle greeting. No rush comes with sunrise, only the promise of a day unfolding in quiet grace. Beneath the peaks, wind slides over ridges and down ravines, carrying scents of pine resin and spring flowers. Zeus inhales deep, senses every petal and needle. This morning wind tastes of possibility, a soften that reaches every ear below. He lets it caress his skin, lingering on each contour, as though blessing the land in silence. From the ledge above, Zeus hears a single eagle's cry. It echoes twice, then fading. The bird circles the summit once, wings outstretched, before riding a silent updraft toward the sun. Zeus imagines the eagle's eyes, sharp, calm, knowing every curve of the mountain. He envies its freedom but cherishes his own role, witness of dawn's steady miracle. Ancient custom says Zeus inhales the first breath of morning, then exhales it as blessing upon mortals. Today, at the summit's rim, he stands upright, chest lifted. He breathes in the world's hush, holds it, then lets it out in a quiet wave. That wave carries every half, every door, every sleeping soul, a secret invitation. Wake gently, for the day belongs to patience. Clouds drift in columns and eddies around Olympic peaks, knitting patterns across blue. Some gather at mid-height, sheer as silk drape. Others swirl in coiling currents like slow dancers. Zeus traces their shapes, hears their soft hum. To him, each shifting cloud speaks a dialect of weather, promise of noon's warmth, hint of afternoon breeze, memory of last night's rain. He listens like a scholar, heart scribbling notes in invisible ink. Above, the sky's palette shifts, violet to lavender, to pale peach, to gold. It is as though a divine weaver threads each hue through the morning wool. Zeus watches the colors fall, brushstroke by brushstroke, across the sky canvas. No mortal artist could capture this quiet gradation. It demands a calm eye and the patience to savor each moment. Sometimes Zeus scatters barley grains at dawn, tiny offerings in memory of Hestia's hearth. Today, on a stone plinth near the peak, he sets 3 grains in a row. He tips them gently. Each falls with the softest tap, then glows faintly in the new light. To mortals, barley pop signals morning bread. Hey, it says, this place, too, must be nourished by small, steady acts. From his high vantage, Zeus sees villages awakening. Smoke from hearths curling skyward, windows bright with candlelight still unextinguished. Farmers lead goats to pastures. Fishermen load slender boats at harbor edges. No trumpet heralds their day's first step. Only the world's soft unfolding under Zeus's quiet watch. He feels kinship with these small rituals, each one a heartbeat in the body of earth. A crystal spring nearby bubbles through rock into a marble basin. Zeus kneels, scoops a cupful, and lifts it to his lips. The water tastes of melted snow in hidden caverns, faint with mineral sweetness. He sips, then sprinkles droplets into the air like gentle rain, blessing peaks and valleys alike. Each drop sails briefly before kissing granite, moss, or grass. Around Olympus, sound moves differently. It arrives soft, pauses, then departs in echoes that wait. Zeus stands silent until a single footstep echoes off distant cliff, then fades, leaving deeper hush. He inhales at emptiness, knowing silence itself can carry healing. In the world below, listeners pause, wondering why their thoughts feel lighter. On rare mornings, the slightest tremor quivers through stone, an echo of chariot wheels on God's highways. But today the summit stays still. No heralds approach, no urgent summons call to Zeus. He appreciates this calm. It grants space for reflection, for letting the world simply be. Zeus closes his eyes, letting dawn weave itself into memory. He recalls childhood at Kronos' table, the gentle lull of Rhea's voice, the secret thunder of his first storm. Each recollection glows softly, a thread he tucks carefully into his cloud-woven cloak. Even gods need to remember their beginnings in hush and safety. At last a lark strikes a single note, then another, like a smile in sound. Soon choruses rise, thrushes, bullfinches, warblers. Birds fill the air with soft patterns, no haste in their melody, only measured beauty. Zeus listens, marvels at how life insists on song, even in places so high they almost touch heaven. The summit soil holds tiny blooms, thyme, savory, dwarf iris. Zeus kneels among them, brushing petals to release scent. Thyme lends earth spice, iris breathes pale sweetness. He inhales, tucks the aroma into a hidden flask of memory. Mortals who light hearths with these herbs taste the mountain's hush in every breath. Though often called father of gods and men, Zeus also held strangers' rights dear, offering hospitality was sacred duty. From this summit, he imagines travelers arriving, lost shepherds, wandering bards, finding a divine bench and a warm cup. He wills the mountain pass to soften, to guide feet gently, as hearth guides a hearthside guest. Sun climbs higher, shadows fold shorter. A single sunbeam strikes a ledge, painting it bright gold. Zeus watches a minute change, knows that midday's quiet is different from dawn's hush. It carries fullness of promise, work begun, rest earned. He inhales a long breath, savoring this midpoint between birth and decline. Far to the south, a lone cloud drifts across the sun's face, dimming light for a precious heartbeat. Zeus allows the veil, a brief shadow that promises shade. When the cloud passes, the sun's glow seems warmer, ripe with renewal. He smiles, thinking how small pauses can make bright moments shine more gently. A single eagle feather floats down through the air, twisting once before landing near Zeus's foot. He picks it up, soft ivory with dark tip, and tucks it in his cloak seam. It will remind him how flight can be stillness, how each journey begins with a single gentle drift. Even the greatest gods understand the comfort of a shared hearth. Each evening, as the sun sank low, villagers across Greece lit small fires before their doorways. They did not sing or shout, no trumpets or hymns, only stirred coals and watched embers glow. Zeus, guardian of stranger and friend alike, watched these quiet gatherings from high Olympus. He felt that simple circle of warmth held more power than any thunderbolt. It drew strangers into friends, travelers into safe harbor, and strangers into laughter's hush. When villagers nestled close to hearthstones, telling low stories, he sent down soft breezes to soothe chill bones and ease heavy hearts. Hospitality, he thought, was the purest form of magic. The ancient Greeks called hospitality xener. It was no mere kindness. It was contract written by Zeus himself. A host must offer food, shelter, and warmth to any traveler, no questions asked. In return, guests behave with respect, no theft, no insult. If a guest stayed silent, the host did not press questions. Silence was also a form of trust. Zeus watched every half, guardian of the unspoken bond between host and guest. When a village honored Xene, he sent calm days, gentle winds, and silent blessings. When hosts forgot Xene, dark clouds gathered, coals went cold, and dreams turned restless. Thus every half held not only families, but the promise of Zeus's quiet watch. Against cottage walls stood small stone ovens, hollows cleaved into thick rock. At dusk, embers glowed through arched mouths, and clay pots whispered soft hisses. Steam rose in slow spirals from barley porridge, lentil stews, and olive oil bath vegetables. No grand feast here, only simple simmering, smells drifting like lullabies through windows. Zeus loved that soft symphony, the low hum of cooking and the gentle clink of earthenware. He guided stray sparks to land harmlessly and sent long threads of smoke upward, so travelers could see a welcoming sign from afar. Hospitality was not drama, he mused, but the art of making strangers feel quietly at home. Barley, humble grain of field and hearth, fed many a footsore traveler. Villagers soaked the grains overnight in cool spring water, then ground them coarse. Morning dawned with kneaded dough beneath linen cloths, left to rise slowly. By noon, flat loaves puffed on heated stones, crust golden and soft inside. Villagers broke bread before the hearth, tearing pieces and passing them around. Zeus blessed each crumb as it passed from hand to hand, binding strangers in silent brotherhood. He had seen worse armies dissolve when offered bread first than any storm could shatter. Pure olive oil, pressed from ancient groves, drizzled over barley cakes. It shone gold in morning light and soothed dust-dry throats. Women poured oil into shallow bowls, inviting guests to dip their bread. Zeus watched that ritual, sensing how simple acts bind hearts. A drop of oil, a shared crumb, a promise of welcome. Salt, though common, carried deep meaning in Xenair. Households kept small salt cellars next to every bowl. Guests dipped their bread into salt first, an allegiance of taste. Zeus sent salt-soft breezes to remind hosts that flavor comes both from earth and kindness. A cup of water offered on warm days could save a life. Servants filled clay cups at running springs, carried them with care. 2 hands held out to receive. Zeus approved that exchange. Water, clear and simple, was both gift and pledge to shield strangers from thirst. When daylight faded, lanterns swung by cottage doors. Their soft glow invited weary feet to pause, to breathe, to rest. Zeus saw each flicker as an open door sign. Here you may sleep safely. He wrapped the night around each lamp like protective cloak. Hosts placed a low stool beside the fire for their favored guest. Often a wandering bard would settle there, lyre in hand. Soft songs drifted into smoky air, tales of old heroes, lullabies for small children. Zeus leaned close to the melody, pleased that firelight and song banished fear. Smoke ringed the rafters, carrying incense of pine and olive wood. Zeus felt each swirl as a blessing rising skyward. He breathed in those curls of scent, then exhaled quiet peace across sleeping fields. Hearth smoke was his gentle signal. You are watched over. In autumn, guests brought harvest gifts, sheaves of wheat, baskets of figs. Mothers wove small wreaths of grain as tokens of thanks. Zeus cherished these offerings, for they embodied cycle of giving and receiving. Each knot of barley or wheat spoke of shared toil and shared feast. When hospitality stretched across fields, hosts pitched small tents. A single wool blanket lay atop straw ticks. Guests awoke under open sky, hearing dawn bird calls before hearth crackles. Zeus admired this closeness to earth, hospitality anywhere, even beneath stars. Zeus himself was called Xenias, protector of strangers. He placed an unseen cup above each hostel roof, a shield of cloud, a promise of calm weather and kind spirits. Storms passed by, guests awoke to safe passage home. When hosts forgot Xene, Zeus's quiet turned to firm justice. Fields found drought, skies clouded without rain, shadows grew restless. But when strangers left blessings in kind, small miracles followed. Spring returned earlier, lambs nursed stronger, half fires glowed brighter. Not all visitors were strangers. Neighbors crossed lanes at dusk, dropping in for barley tea. Zeus saw these simple visits as fires that warmed entire villages. Laughter shared, stories told, worries eased by kind ears. On certain moonlit nights, hosts observed a silent meal, no chatter. Bread slipped across hands, oil dripped soundless. Zeus sent gentle winds to carry near-imperceptible echoes. Sometimes silence speaks welcome more softly than words. Before sleep, hosts sprinkled salt and crumbs at hearth's edge. They whispered gratitude to the unseen flame that watched over them. Zeus felt these tiny offerings as a quiet pulse, heartbeats of a world that never forgot small kindness. When cold winds rose from mountain passes, hosts draped extra cloaks. Knitted blankets appeared on benches beside embers. Zeus wrapped his own cloud-woven cloak tighter, echoing human care. Warmth is gesture of shared comfort, he mused. At dawn, guests shook off sleep, stepped slow on warm stones. Hosts offered final cups of barley water and olive paste. Before departure, Guest and host exchange simple tokens. A sprig of thyme, a ribbon of linen, a small woven bag of grain. Zeus approved these parting gifts. They carried memories home like gentle seeds. Sometimes Zeus dispersed his spark quietly, guiding a lost mule back to stable, nudging a stream closer to a traveler's path, causing a bird to land near a thirsty hand. These whispers of help went unnoticed in great epics, but they wove kindness into everyday life. Once each year, villagers held a feast for Zeus Xenios, the stranger's god, tables heaped with barley loaves, roasted lamb, honey cakes. Guests arrived at dusk, blessings on each lip. Frogs croaked by moonlit pools, torches painted faces in soft amber. Zeus joined unseen, tasting joy in every plate shared. When guests retired, hosts banked the hearth, coals buried beneath ash. Zeus left a final ember glowing beneath lid, and watched through night's dark. It pulsed faintly, a heartbeat of warmth for passing dreams. No thunder necessary. A single ember sufficed to keep fear at bay. By first light, hosts unearthed the ember to revive the flame. From it sprang new fire for breakfast bread. Zeus sent a quick dawn breeze to stir us into glow. A hidden blessing that said, "You are welcome again." Travelers carried stories of kind hosts across lands and seas. Bards told of villages where hearths never went cold. Zeus took pride in these soft legends, more lasting than war songs, more precious than golden shields. As this chapter closes, imagine your own half fire glowing low. Picture barley bread breaking in warm hands, olive oil gleaming on crust. Hear the hush of neighborly voices, the distant laughter of children. This is Zeus's true realm, beneath the vast sky, inhabited by quiet kindness, small comforts, and ever-warm welcome. When the sun rises above Mount Olympus, its light pours down like liquid silver. Zeus watches from his cloud throne as that radiance spreads across valleys. It slips into olive groves, dances on rippling streams, and warms low-roof cottages. No bolt of lightning heralds this gift, only the soft sweep of morning's glow. Zeus delights in every beam's unhurried touch, knowing each holds comfort for waking hearts. In high mountain passes, sunbeams filter through pine needles. They fall in thin shafts of light, like pale arrows on dark green. Zeus listens to the hush this spectacle makes, a silent hymn of dawn. Each shaft marks a path from sky to earth, guiding wanderers without word or sign. Lower down, a grove of ancient olive trees glows in sunlit whispers. Leaves flicker silver, then fade to muted green in shade. Villagers pause mid-task, pruning, weeding, harvesting, to admire the gentle sparkle. Zeus sends a steady breeze, so leaves catch dawn's light in soft dance, reminding all that small glimmers can brighten a long day's work. As the sun climbs, rocky peaks shift from gray to warm gold. Ridge lines glow like molten metal, then settle into steady warmth. Zeus watches rock and sky exchange colors like old friends greeting, and he feels the world's weight soften under that bright calm. Rivers awaken to morning light, turning from dark pools into streams of silver that wind through fields and towns. Fishermen set nets in shallow bends. They watch water, catch each beam like scattered coins. Zeus blesses those mirrored currents, guiding fish, and smooth passage to boats gliding on glassy flow. Along dusty roads, travelers lift heads to catch sun's first rays. Shadows shrink behind their feet as they walk toward market or home. Zeus warms their shoulders with gentle light, easing sore muscles. No cloak of cloud soothes weary backs like sun's soft embrace. After sudden summer rain, A rainbow arches low above terrace hills. Colors blend softly. Rose, lavender, pale blue. No harsh lines. Zeus paints each bow himself, choosing gentle shades to calm. The startled sky and thirsty fields, a promise of peace after storms. In morning stillness, lakes wear a veil of mist. Sunbeams pierce that veil in lazy columns, unveiling hidden fish, and smoothing ripples into polished glass. Zeus drifts above and joins the mirror world below, where water and sky meet in hush. As sun sets, distant lamps on harbor docks glow softly. Fisher boats return, lantern lights bobbing on gentle waves. Zeus dims daylight's glare so the lanterns shine calm and warm, welcoming sailors to safe mooring without a shout. Before sun fully warms the fields, dew clings to each blade of grass. Zeus sends dawn's first kiss to every droplet, turning meadows into seas of tiny sparkles. Children walking to school pause to touch a blade, awed by countless points of light at their feet. Zeus watches the sun rise in measured pace, not a sudden flay, but a gradual unveiling. Each minute, the light gains strength, lifting shadows from valleys and courtyards. He teaches mortals patience through that slow glow. Clay roofs of hillside homes redden in first light. Tile by tile, they absorb each beam, storing warmth. 4 cool evenings to come. Zeus smiles at that quiet cycle. Morning heat repurposed into night's gentle half. Inside sunlit temples, marble statues gleam. Candles remain unlit. No need for flame when platinum light lays soft on sculpted faces. Zeus admires how stone and sun combine to bring quiet reverence without flicker or smoke. Thin streams wind under gnarled olive trunks, their water silvered by morning. Farmers pause by the banks, dipping clay cups for washing, or watering saplings. Zeus blesses those small currents, knowing life flows best in steady, patient currents. High on village rooftops, communal ovens glow with coals. Zeus guides sun's warmth toward these stones, so dough bakes evenly and loaves share gentle crust. The smell drifts through alleys, mixing with olive scent to draw weary feet home. Gardens of roses, jasmine, and oleander open under midday sun. Petals gleam pale silver, then yield to cream or pink. Zeus times the light so flowers unfurl in soft display, welcoming bees and brushing breeze with petal sigh. At day's end, Zeus offers last beams to guide street lanterns. Soft twilight light pools on flagstones, making lantern glow appear warmer. Travelers find safe paths under that blend of sky and lamp. When moon rises, its white light spills onto rivers and lakes. Zeus lifts a pale glow from clouds, channeling silver beams into still currents. Fishermen hear only soft lapping, and sea moon's face ripple on waves. At night, stars sift through olive branches, casting pinpoints of light on dark leaves. Zeus places each star carefully, like a gardener sowing seeds of calm. Villagers resting beneath trees hear only rustle and distant cricket song. After thunder fades, Zeus sends soft light through soaked fields. Water beads on leaves, glinting in fresh sunshine. Earth exhales damp scent, grass boughs heavy with droplets. Zeus showers mild rays, drying fields for sowing's next step. At dawn's break, torch-bearing priests walk temple paths. Torches are needed for light, but their flame adds warmth. To silvered statues, Zeus honors this blend of fire and sun, reminding all that light multiplies when shade. Farmers leave wounds in olive groves, split hands, twisted ankles. Zeus guides sun's rays to seam those slow healing cuts. Warmth seeps into skin, Pain eases under quiet glow. He cherishes sun as healer more than storm as destroyer. Marble stays of public buildings shine in mid-morning light, almost too bright to gaze upon. Zeus times the beams to soften midday glare, so steps reflect gentle glow, not harsh brilliance. Visitors climb each stair with ease stride. At last, the sun drifts past noon toward twilight's return. Zeus watches light shift through afternoon haze. From silver to honey, then soft gold, he breathes in that quiet transition, knowing calm ends must follow calm beginnings. As this chapter ends, imagine light pooling on your skin, gentle warmth on eyelids, soft glow on palms. This silvered radiance is Zeus's gift. Not thunder nor blaze, but steady shine. Carry it with you into dreams, and let morning's calm promise rise again when you awaken. High above Mount Olympus, where the air grows thin and the sky opens wide, clouds drift in soft, billowing folds. They appear like gentle waves in a sea of pale blue, each one a quiet shape shaped by the breath of the world. Zeus, king of gods, stands on a ledge of stone that feels cool beneath his bare feet. He lifts his face toward the drifting clouds and listens. They speak not in words but in soft movements, edging closer or sliding apart, rising up and falling back. Messages carried on unseen currents. An eagle riding the wind passes through the gaps, its outstretched wings touching the cloud edges like fingertips on silk. Zeus watches the bird vanish into mist, then turns his gaze back to the sky. The gods say that clouds are messengers between heaven and earth. In Homer's tales, deities wrap themselves in cloud robes, descending to mortal realms in gentle garb rather than blazing with light. Hey, in the hush before dawn, Zeus feels their truth. Clouds are neither solid nor absent, but something in between, carriers of counsel in plain sight. He closes his eyes, allowing the breath of the mountain air to fill his lungs. Inhale pine scent, cold stone, hidden springs. Exhale an offering of calm, a soft urge for mortals below to pause, to look up, to feel less alone. Each breath matches the cloud's quiet drift, a rhythm that spans a gap between God and human, earth and sky. Below, villages sleep. Thatched roofs and red-tiled houses rest under blankets of gloom. Smoke from hearths long bank curls upward, meeting the mist that rises in thin tendrils from mountain creeks. In a small cottage perched at the edge of a valley, a mother lies awake, counting soft sounds, the murmur of sheep in a nearby pen, the creak of timber settling on choked night, the thump-thump of her own heartbeat. She does not know Zeus watches over her dreams, nor does she dream of him. She dreams of morning's warmth, yet he listens, sending an extra hush to guard her under the silent cloud quilt. An old shepherd tending his flock at the lowest ridge lifts his arms to the dark sky as though measuring wind's weight. His woolen cloak, torn at the hem, flutters in a sudden draft that ushers the breeze around his shoulders. He breathes it in, tasting elements of frost and sunlit rain. He nods to himself, wrapping his cloak tighter, and settles a leaning crook against an olive tree's twisted trunk. He knows storms gather if clouds thicken too soon, but tonight they merely drift. No threats, only presences. He leans on his crook and watches the clouds drift westward, trusting that gentle patterns signify gentle days yet to come. Zeus felt that trusting hush too. Before he claimed thunderbolt and sky, he tasted the clouds' soft counsel. In the earliest days, he wandered under these drifting masses in mortal form. He learned to read their shapes, puffs promising shade, thin veils promising gentle drizzle, dark tongues at the horizon promising real storms. Mortals below noticed nothing, carrying on with chores as clouds sailed overhead. Yet their eyes lifted from time to time, their faces turned skyward, and even unknowing hearts felt the clouds' presence as a kind of company. A small altar sits at a crossroads high on the mountain, roughly hewn from local marble. Pilgrims once stopped there to scatter barley as an offering to sky gods, begging for safe passage across narrow paths and wind-cut ridges. Today, no pilgrim arrives, but the altar remains, softened by moss and lichen. Zeus walks to it, brushes a hand across the smooth stone, and scatters a few grains of barley. Tiny pops echo in the hollow air as each grain lands and cracks. He feels the ritual link him to all who come before, each pilgrim, each traveler, each quiet seeker of counsel beneath the clouds. He kneels, not in prayer but in mindfulness. He asks no favors, only listens. The clouds shift, a slow swirl to the left, a lingering drift back. He senses their rustle as if they speak. The world waits below. Keep it safe. It is soft advice, one that does not need thunder's voice. Slowly, he rises, brushing marble dust from his knees. His robe fans out behind him, a pale cloud in his own right. He gazes at the sky, seeing currents converge at distant heights, weaving invisible lines across their pale expanse. He might then reach out, pluck a single wisp of cloud, and swirl it into storm if he chose. But not today. Today he is content to let them drift, templates of placidity, guiding winds, and quiet counsel to all who look upward. Look upward. That is the silent instruction Zeus offers every soul. In palace halls, emissaries glance at painted frescoes of gods and heroes. But outdoors, even common folk glance up when clouds gather. Their minds wander from market disputes to family quarrels, thoughts turning to weather's impact on crops or travel. In that moment, they commune with Zeus's calm category, the sky's soft counsel before effort, before need. In coastal towns at dawn, fishermen unwrap nets. Nets tumble to sand with a dull thud. They pause, nets in hand, glancing seaward under low clouds drifting eastward. They look for gaps of blue, promises of calm waves, or dark ragged edges, hints of offshore disturbance. Zeus sends them that guidance in clouds. A swell too heavy might break long lines. A turning wind might fill sails gently on return. Each cloudy whisper shapes decisions. Go now, wait until mid-morning, or not at all. Inside a baker's shop by the quay, candles burn long after dawn's arrival. Dough rises beneath cloths soaked in warm spring water. The baker stops kneading, sets hands on hips, and glances at plumes of smoke rising from multiple hearth chimneys. They sway lazily, signaling weather patterns. A steady drift means good baking day. No need to rush loaves to market before winds shift. Zeus's counsel seeps through chimney smoke in harmony with the clouds' drift. Zeus draws a deep breath, tipping his head slightly as if catching fragments of cloud thought. He senses a thin ripple, an incoming wind that will shift temperatures by evening. He decides to nudge it gentle rather than shove it. Below, farmers in olive groves feel a subtle change in breezes as they tend wheelbarrows of harvested fruit. No gale, no discomfort, just a gentle press that turns sweat to breeze, heavy branches to light a bow. Those farmers smile, eyes still on trees, feeling sky's soft touch, unaware of the god's active hand. Even in temperate seasons, clouds serve as sky's memory, remembrance of past rains, of droughts, of storms that crashed. A pale cloud drifting low might whisper, "We have been thirsty too," and then rain will follow. Or a thick wall of gray might linger without falling, a test of patience and preparedness. Zeus bathes those memories in his mind. He refines each message before sending it downstream. Weather need not be capricious. It can be a calm advisor, a sky's own bard murmuring steadiness. In village squares, children sometimes lift small sticks or cloth scraps, letting them flutter in uncertain currents. They watch clouds form and disappear, guessing what day might bring. Those guesses have no power over Zeus's counsel, but he admires children's innocence. Their hearts open easily, disguise simple messages. Rest, work, play, no fear of lightning's glare. He remembers children long ago who first saw dawn's cloudlit sky and marveled at its gentle gifts. High on the mountain, goats tread narrow ledges as clouds swirl around their legs. They move sure-footed, guided by sky's hush rather than panic. Zeus, watching them, thinks. Even animals heed the sky's tone. A hard wind will send them scurrying to stable ledges. A gentle breeze feeds sweet grass back to their grazing lips. The clouds, calm as they are, shape every creature's steps. He smiles, knowing his counsel is universal, in every wing flap, hoofall, and swoop. When noon arrives, the sun casts strong beams through gaps in cloud cover. Zeus does not let that light scorch. He spreads cloud filaments across the solar disk, creating mild filters. Below, people walk roads warmed by flattering glow rather than searing rays. Merchants display bright fabrics that ripple in shadowed shafts rather than fade in harsh glare. Zeus's counsel for midday: let light serve life, not burn it. By late afternoon, clouds change again. They gather in small clusters overhead, a sign that sunlight now shifts toward gold. Zeus guides them slower, fashioning each knot of mist into shapes. Ships drifting, animals grazing, simple patterns that coax minds away from toil. Villagers pause by their windows, tracing shapes with lazy eyes, their thoughts unspooled from labor's steady demands. Sunset's final glow backlights clouds in burnished bronze. Zeus leans forward, letting that glow pool at the horizon. He thinks of every shade meal under these hues, every vagrant told, come in, be warm, every traveler given grain and water. He lifts a hand, and a thin streak of cloud stretches across western sky like a ribbon. It says, you are not alone. Mortals sleep under that promise, wreathing dreams in gentle skylights. When twilight deepens, Zeus loosens low mists that drift through valleys. They cling to windowsills and doorposts, carrying dew to crevices and moss to cobblestones. He wraps the land in his cloak not to hide it, but to hush it. In that hush, tired voices soften, halves crackle under lids, and the world exhales. Zeus feels that exhalation in his own chest as a final note of counsel. Rest fully, for dawn's silver radiance will return. Later, only stars remain, pinpoint lights above cloud cover. Zeus arranges them in quiet arcs, balancing constellations, so they shine steady guide for late travelers. He remembers the call of hospitality and the promise of Xenir. He hears the echo of dawn's barley pops at mountain altars and the hush of barley breaking in grateful hands. Clouds, riveted with silver light, carry those echoes on winds of memory. And as the world sleeps, Zeus sits watchful, counselor of sky and cloud, weaving comfort with each gentle drift overhead. Before the first hour of dawn has given way to pink or gold, the world beneath Mount Olympus stirs in a gentle hush. In villages far below, doors open with an almost silent creak, and blankets slip away from shoulders warmed by dreams. Along narrow lanes, dew-laden grass boughs under pale light, and high on the mountain's crown, Zeus, king of gods and keeper of sky's quiet counsel, prepares to send the morning breeze down to every waking soul. Zeus stands upon a broad ledge of gray marble, cool beneath his bare feet. Around him the air is crisp, scented of pine needles and mountain springs. He lifts his arms with calm deliberation, his cloud-woven robe brushing soft air currents at his sides. For a long moment he pauses, eyes closed, listening to the world inhale. In that sacred silence, he senses every stir of life, the far-off bleat of a sheep, the slow drip of a hidden dripstone spring, the flutter of a window shutter tracing an opening sigh. Then Zeus inhales, drawing the hush deep into his lungs. And as he exhales, he releases the morning breeze. That breeze is not a single gust but a layered unfolding of wind, soft, measured, and precise. It begins at the mountain's edge, where granite meets sky. A thin current poises itself there, rising just enough to catch early light. It carries a whisper of chill, reminding sleepers that night still holds sway. Yet it is not bitter. It is a gentle nudge, as though the breeze itself says, "Awaken slowly." From that high berth, the morning breeze spreads. It spills down rocky gullies lined with wet moss. There, it gathers moisture, each droplet adding weight to the air, softening its touch. As it slides beneath twisted pines, it teases at branches in playful dances, a slight shimmy here, a long bend there. Pine cones tumble in hushed patters. Needles brush one another in tiny clatters, soft enough to soothe the ear. Zeus watches this delicate ballet from his vantage. He sees how the breeze twists around ancient trunks, cupping small hollows before drifting onward. He remembers, in the earliest days before thunderbolt and sky throne, how he felt such breezes as a child hidden in his mother's arms, how they comforted him with promise of warmth to come. In that memory lies his desire, to send the same comfort to every waking below. In the olive groves that carpet the lower slopes, the morning breeze slips between trunks gnarled by centuries. It threads through branches heavy with ripening fruit. Leaves tremble, catching the pale light and shaking free old dust. Zealots of the grove, harvesters who rose before dawn, stand still in their rows, faces lifted, eyes closed, feeling the breeze as blessing. Each inhale draws in cool fragrance of budding olives. Each exhale carries off the weight of night's chill. Zeus imbues that wind with precisely that gift, released from dark, fragrant hope for day. Beyond the groves, mile after mile of vineyard terraces rise and fall like carved ribbons across hillsides. Hey, too, the breeze winds in soft curves, brushing the tendrils of young vines. Farmers pause in their pruning, shears in hand, noticing the delicate caress. No sudden gust startles them. Instead, a gentle sweep lifts loose leaves from the terrace paths. They follow the breeze's path with footfalls, clearing brush and debris left by winter's drift. Their labor, often silent, blends with the wind's own labor of renewal. Higher still, shepherds awaken among their flocks. Before the day grows bright, they draw cloaks around shoulders and step into damp grass. The morning breeze greets them with soft fingertips, pressing over woolen cloaks and rough-hewn staffs. Sheep lift heads, noses quivering for familiar scent, grasses, earth, and now that subtle breath of wind. The shepherds, in turn, nod in quiet greeting, recognizing in the breeze the assurance that spring returns, that pastures await fresh grazing, that another day can begin without fear. The breeze threads next through small hamlets perched on the mountain's flanks. Thatched roofs and stone cottages rest in neat clusters, smoke from last night's hearth still smoldering in some chimneys. That smoke, once curled high into sleeping skies, now catches the breeze's flow, Frail tendrils drift along narrow streets like ghosts of yesterday's warmth. Doors open onto flags of carved stone. From within, children press foreheads at door frames, half awake, bewildered by shifting curtain folds. Mothers invite them forward, catch them in smiles, and let them feel the breeze's cool cheek. Birth of morning's gentle promise.ind's hamlets. Kitchen ovens glow at dawn. Clay house, banked overnight, wait for fresh coals. The morning breeze slides inside through open windows, charging the air with moisture that singes into gentle steam upon contact with hot stones. Bakers knead dough beside house. Their palm-bruised hands feel the breeze's soft prods, urging them to wind loops of dough into rising shapes. Under that breeze, the scent of yeast and grain broadens, spilling into the street like an open invitation. Come forth, for bread is rising. Travelers on well-worn mountain paths catch the breeze as they climb. Their boots brush gravel in steady crunches. Cloaks flap lightly over shoulders. The wind meets them head-on, urging them onward. A merchant's donkey halts, nostrils flaring, ears twitching. Its handler smiles, loosening the lead rope just enough to let the breeze pass. A nod to Zeus's guiding hand. They continue, cross the final rise, and enter the settle's gentle slopes. Spirits lifted by the airy encouragement. Even the wildflowers on the open meadows feel the breeze's careful attention. Scarlet poppies, delicate daisies, and tiny blue irises all tilt their blossoms, opening softer faces to the wind's caress. Bees emerge from hives, wings humming in response to the breeze's hum. They dive upon petals, gathering nectar in measured sips. Zeus knows how important such small gatherings are. Bees gather honey for hive, shepherds gather sheep for fold, and every creature finds calm through the breath of air. Approaching towns built on lower reaches, the breeze carries fresh scents. The salt of distant sea, the tang of brine in harbor waters, the perfume of citrus groves. Fishermen, in slender skiffs moored to wooden piers, lift paddles and cut gently through rippling wakes. Each stroke sends small plumes of water against oars, the sound blending with breezes whisper. Nets hang slack, waiting for haul at daybreak's first light. Sailors pause mid-toss to feel the breeze's fuller strength, a signal that fair weather lies ahead for fishers and merchants alike. In city markets, vendors lift canvas awnings to catch the breeze's welcome draft. Covered stalls' temperature cools under that shaded breeze. Fruits glisten, spice jars sway, and merchants greet customers with softer voices. The breeze carries hints of freshly baked loaves, of spiced coffee brewed nearby, and of woolen cloths dyed in rich hues. Travelers strolling through market lanes grasp for the breeze's touch, letting it guide them towards sweets or simple olives brined just yesterday. Even within palace walls, in dimly lit corridors lined with marble statues, the morning breeze finds its way. Servants open high windows, allowing wind to drift through colonnades. Torches extinguish softly in their sconces, unneeded now that daylight fills vast halls. In private chambers, royal family members sit at low tables, sipping barley water. The breeze stirs their garments, lifts loose hair strands, and brings clarity to heavy minds. Ministers pause in whispered councils, noting the breeze's subtle presence as an omen of calm decision-making ahead. In temple courtyards where columns circle altars, priests stand in linen robes. Their silent liturgy requires no chant this hour, only the breath of sky. They extend hands palms up, feeling breeze's coolness on flesh, offering that touch to their deities in gratitude. Incense burns in bronze bowls. Smoke mingles with breeze, carrying prayers in upward spirals. Zeus welcomes each prayer as wind welcomes each cloud, lifting them gently toward sky's vastness. Along dusty roadways that stretch between town and temple, the breeze walks in quiet company with travelers. A pilgrim kneels at a roadside spring to fill a gourd. The breeze teases a loose shoelace as if encouraging haste, yet it waits patiently for the pilgrim's slow ritual. The pilgrim drinks deeply, then tucks the gourd and rises with buoyed step. The breeze guides staff in hand, staff tapping stone in soft rhythm, trail music for steady progress. Fields beyond roadways unfurl in patches of green and gold, wheat fields, barley fields, vineyards, and first leaf. The breeze courses through these fields in rolling undulations, setting grain stalks to wave in gentle applause. Farmers stand at field edges, leaning on long tools, hats shading faces. They note breeze's direction to plan midday rest or afternoon plowing. Under that breeze, they trust the weather will hold. No sudden storms, no scorching heat, only calm work in measured light. On hilltops crowned with solitary windmills, the breeze turns blades in lazy arcs. Each rotation creaks wood, then flows into gentle where it echoes down slopes. Mills begin their day grinding grain into flour, the very same barley Zeus scatters at mountain altars. He smiles at this unity, mountain breeze that powers mill, grain that rises as bread, bread that feeds a bread-broken world below. As the sun climbs height of sky, the morning breeze softens into midday sigh. It drifts through orchards heavy with fruit, picking a perfect peach here, a plump grape cluster there. Farmers pause under shade, offering bounty to breeze as thanks. The fruit sways in gentle agonies before dropping into waiting baskets. Zeus notes each offering, receipts of kindness from oath to wind to hand. Higher still, across the open plains of the mountain's foot, the breeze sighs through tall grasses. Wild horses graze in scattered herds, tails swishing, hooves shifting in muted trampling. The breeze wraps around their bodies, tucking loose manes under soft gusts. Foals doze on warm earth. Mothers stand sentinel, both soothed by wind-shore lullaby. Zeus found comfort in such scenes long before he wore the sky's mantle. Now he ensures the breeze continues its ancient work, calm the wild, steady the herd. In each of these places, grove, hamlet, field, plain, the breeze weaves invisible ties. Shepherd to sheep, baker to loaf, pilgrim to path. Zeus guides these threads with infinite care, knowing a misstep of wind can chill a child or scatter a flock. He measures strength so no gust upends half, no sudden swirl bends young limbs. Instead, the breeze arrives as blessing, a whispered friend, a patient partner in every waking task. When afternoon advances into evening's slower pace, Zeus gathers the morning breeze into golden currents that chase away the heat. It drifts through open windows once more, cooling rooms where families share final cups of barley water and olive paste. Curtains flutter in its passage, tracing gentle arcs on limestone floors. Zeal for the day's work fades. Hush of twilight settles on bones tired by labor. Heads nod, shoulders loosen, and speech grows softer. On seaside cliffs where gulls wheel, the breeze lifts salt and foam into sky. Zephyrs ride the crests, carrying coals of sea and land. Fishermen hold drift nets, bodies bent with weight, faces lifted to catch breeze's mercy. They breathe in brine and wind together, tasting morning's promise curled in a midday breath. Zeus, from his high seat, feels those breaths as many tiny thanks, each one a note in quiet him to sky's gentle rule. Finally, as sun begins its descent, the morning breeze transitions into evening's first hush. It dips low on valley bones, stirring last leaf piles and dusted tracks. Travelers on dusty roads turn faces westward, catching brief cool that foreshadows night's complete surrender. Zeus watches these slow shifts like a guardian counting heartbeat. Day is done, rest approaches. Thus the morning breeze, Zeus's first gift each day, moves through world in silent counsel. It needs no proclamation, needs no herald's horn. It arrives in softest whisper. Rise, breathe, begin. And when it departs toward twilight's arms, it leaves behind a world more gentle than it found, a world cradled in the King of Sky's unbroken kindness. High above Mount Olympus, where the air thins and the sky opens wide, pale clouds drift in gentle folds. They appear like soft waves in a sea of pale blue, ever shifting, carrying messages in their silent drift. Zeus stands on a cool ledge of gray marble, bare feet touching ancient stone. He lifts his face to the clouds, listening not with ears, but with stillness. Each slow movement, their rise, their swirl, their parting, speaks in a language beyond words. He closes his eyes, breathes in pine and hidden springs, and exhales a blessing of calm down the mountain slopes. Near a simple altar of driftwood and marble, Zeus scatters 3 grains of barley. Tiny pops echo in the hollow air, promises of warmth, of safety, of care for every soul below. In villages sleeping under blankets of mist, mothers feel a stirring breeze at the window. Farmers pause by pens, noticing a subtle shift in air that says, "Awaken gently." Even shepherds, leaning on gnarled crooks, sense the cloud-born counsel guiding each heartbeat of the dawn. That counsel coalesces into breath, the morning breeze. It begins as a thin current on the mountain's crown, rising just enough to catch pale light. It slides down rocky gullies, gathering moisture in moss-off hollows, then threads through ancient pines in playful dances. Needles tinkle like distant chimes. Pine cones tumble in hushed patterns. Zeus watches, remembering childhood hidden in Rhea's arms, soothed by that same mountain breath. Now he sends it forth, layer by measured layer, carrying comfort and promise. In olive groves, the breeze threads between heavy branches, stirring ripening fruit and lifting old dust from leaves. Harvesters pause mid-prune, breathe in cool olive fragrance, and nod in silent gratitude. In terraced vineyards, the wind curls around trellis vines, guiding farmers' hands in slow rhythms. Throughout high hamlets and roadside springs, the morning breeze greets each place, slipping through thatched doorways, stirring smoke from clay ovens, cooling early loaves of barley bread. Travelers on dusty roads feel its welcome touch on weary shoulders. Fishermen beside silent harbors sense it in soft ripples on oars. Children in fields look skyward as it teases wildflowers into gentle boughs. Even within palace halls, shrouds of linen stir in its passage, guiding ministers' whispered counsel, easing heavy hearts before dawn's work begins. As sun climbs, the morning breeze shifts to midday's gentlest sigh. It drifts through orchards heavy with fruit, through tile-roofed courtyards where lanterns swing in soft twilight glimmer. It threads under olive groves, over grazing horses, through every open window and every closed chamber, carrying the world's hush in its pale currents. Finally, as afternoon gives way to evening's calm, the breeze draws back toward mountain heights, toward cloud cradles of Zeus's throne. It leaves behind cooled stones, eased labor, and hearts more open to kindness. In that final exhale, every gathering flame and every silent altar feels the world settle. And so the sky's counsel, first in cloud whispers, then in waking breeze, carries you toward rest. Let the memory of drifting clouds and gentle winds guide your thoughts into quiet sleep. May every dream be wrapped in sky's soft voice, and every morning greet you with calm light once more. The ridge line of Mount Teatos rises black against a sky still tasting of night. Wind slides down the slopes, carrying the faint scent of pine resin and last evening's sheep fires. A single star lingers above the western peaks, small but stubborn, as the first feather of rose strokes the horizon. Inside the palace courtyard, a low hearth has dozed all night beneath a lattice of olive embers. Now, as coals inhale chill air, they shrug a single spark into darkness. It flutters like a drowsy moth and dies. Helen, not yet 10, notices. She has always woken early, leered by mornings that belong only to servants, sparrows, and her own unclaimed thoughts. Her pallet lies against a white placid wall, a few steps from her half-sister Clytemnestra's. She folds a light blanket, places it atop a seated chest, and begins a silent ritual of greeting dawn. Toes to the rush matting, knees to a small wool cushion, palms steepled beneath the chin, eyes closing but not to sleep. She listens, to nothing at first, then to everything. The walls breathe. Wood creaks. A servant in the next room coughs softly, stifling sound in her apron. Somewhere in the stable yard, a colt nickers and stamps, sending straw into a brief swirl that rustles like parchment. Helen imagines each noise as a thread. She gathers them, twisting them into a thin braid of morning quiet that she tucks behind the left ear, just in make-believe. But she does it every dawn. The hearth in the women's quarters is smaller than the grand public fire by the Agra, yet its duties feel just as grand. Heat water for the infant's bath, warm bowls of barley porridge, light the coals in the wool dyer's room across the courtyard. An attendant, older than Helen's mother, with wrists like olive knots, lifts the bronze lid. Curling smoke escapes in a slow spiral, then thins into the air. From a clay jar she measures barley grains, pale as beach sand under noon sun. Helen asks, "May I?" The woman smiles, tips the bowl forward. The girl pinches 3 grains, one for each age she counts beyond her fingers, and lets them fall. Tick, hiss, tick, hiss, tick, hiss, soft as tiny raindrops on a lonely roof. A smell both toasty and faintly sweet lifts into the still dim light, folding around the girl's headscarf like unseen silk. Helen inhales. The scent is a promise. Ovens will wake soon, dough will rise, and trays will return full from the honey house. For a moment her eyes close, not in prayer but in private delight. Clytemnestra stirs on her palate. Unlike Helen, she rarely meets the dawn willingly. She is strong, blunt, a year older, already dreaming of shield grips and chariot reins. Yet she softens at morning's edge, voice still tasting of sleep. "Water ready," she whispers. Helen nods toward the basin near the hearth. Steam curls above it, catching the faintest pink slice of sunrise. Together they kneel beside the bronze bowl. They have a game. Name each swirl of steam as though it were a tiny spirit freed by heat. Clytemnestra points to a ribbon that curves left, drifting like an eel. "See, sister," she murmurs. Helen touches a thinner wisp that shoots upward, vanishing. "Sky runner." They giggle, but softly. The half tend to frown with a pulp where never laughter gets too loud. The girls add a single spoon of olive oil and a shaving of beeswax to the hot water. The wax beads first, then melts, leaving the surface gleaming. Mother will use that water to smooth their hay. Helen loves the scent, green, peppery oil wrapped in faint honey. She knows nothing yet of ships' holds stacked with amphories sailing to islands she has never seen. She simply knows oil warms the scalp, wax calms the skin, and smell can be a kind of cloak, soft, protective, invisible. Outside, a scatter of sparrows lands near the pomegranate tree. The fruit still hangs firm, not yet ready for picking. Helen walks barefoot onto cool flagstones, breadcrumbs tossed in an apron pocket. As she drops the crumbs, the birds hop nearer, quick heads bobbing, brown wings flicking. Their chirps, small and sharp, pierce the hush. Clytemnestra leans on the doorway arch, arms crossed, already pretending to be a sentry. Helen kneels. One sparrow, braver than the rest, hops onto her palm. Tiny claws hardly prick the skin. She studies its heartbeat, a flutter beneath feather and bone, then lets it fly. Dust rises, white in the sidelit A, then settles on the stone, on her toes, on the empty palm still curved in farewell. Beyond the hearth sits the loom room, pungent with lanolin and madder dye. Not yet noisy. The shuttle will not clack until midday heat. But Helen likes a step inside when only shafts of angled sunlight keep the looms company. Will skeins hang on dowels, some dyed sky blue, others still sheep white. She trails a finger along the warped threads of a mother's in-progress weaving, a quiet scene. Olive trees bending in wind, a small altar, maybe a goat. No warriors here, no banners, only home. Threads hum a faint tune if you lean close enough. So she thinks. She hums back, one note, soft. The threads do not answer, yet she believes they listened. Past the courtyard, terrace beds hold time, sage and bitter greens. The soil is dark, still wet from night dew. Helen's nurse kneels there, loosening dirt around a row of onions with a wooden fork. Narrator, the nurse says, using Helen's childhood pet name, River Spirit, lift any weeds that hide near the stems. Helen obeys. Weeds come free with a gentle tug. Roots dangle like pale worms. The scent is deep earth, pepper, and morning damp. She finds a snail clinging to the underside of a leaf and sets it on a mossy stone in the shade. The snail's horns emerge, cautious, testing light. Above, clouds drift slow as will across brightening blue. The sun, still low, rests its first full weight on the courtyard wall, turning white plaster gold. By mid-morning, the palace awakens fully. Metal scraped stone as armor assault spearheads. Bronze mirrors clink in the women's hall. A goat bleats. Milk pails clatter. Helen notes each sound, filing them like tiny beads in a box. For every thunderous myth that will one day swirl around a name, there's this quieter truth. Morning smell of barley smoke, beeswax, wet thyme, goat hair, and bronze polish. Life is counted not in wars but in the safe sameness of chores. Horns emerge, cautious, testing light. Above, clouds drift slow as will across brightening blue. The sun, still low, rests its first full weight on the courtyard wall, turning white plaster gold. During the heat of the day, Helen often escapes to a shaded corner with a basket of story scraps. It holds broken bits, a chipped terracotta whistle, a shell from a distant shore, a knotted fringe from a Mycenaean dress, and a bead of lapis said to hold the Aegean's color in winter. She arranges them on the flagstone like pieces of a map, asking herself, what town does the shell live in? What mountain hides behind this bead? What song does the broken whistle remember? She answers out loud, voice low, weaving tales where no one conquers, no one shouts. Only traveling merchants, slow-moving stars, and wind that forgets its own name. When the sun stands straight above Tejedos, even the shadows shrink. The hearth knows the rest. Its lid stays closed, conserving heat. Helen retreats indoors. She sits where a high window pours a square of white light onto the floor. She places her hand at the square's edge and watches how slowly light creeps across her wrist, counting the day by finger widths. A tutor arrives, short beard smelling faintly of papyrus glue. They read lines from an old hymn to Alethea, goddess of gentle birth. The tutor's voice drones like bees in late summer. Helen copies verses onto a wax tablet. Stylus scratching, bees still humming somewhere beyond the roof tiles. Every so often she looks up, letting the words fall silent on the warm air, letting them settle like dust. She imagines each syllable traveling from the tutor's mouth to the hearth, curling once around a cooled lid, then drifting upward to the open sky. At dusk, the priestess returns to the courtyard hearth. A copper hook lifts the lid. Underneath, the coal is still alive, a dark red jewel breathing slow. She adds a single olive stick. Flame stirs, stretches, sighs. Clytemnestra appears with a jug of water for washing feet. Steam rises from the basin. Helen, now dust-tired, kneels again, just as she had at dawn, and feels the day loop gently shut, edges meeting edges like the mouth of a drawn purse. Night frogs croak beyond the walls. Lanterns flicker along a pillared hall. Helen walks the corridor one last time, letting her fingertips skim the chill marble. She passes a polished bronze shield leaned against a wall. It reflects her in moonlight, a girl's face wrapped in flicker and shadow, unready for epic titles. She bows to her own wavering reflection, half jest, half reverence, then turns toward sleep. Back on her pallet, she lies listening. Wind hushes through cedar shutters. A dog barks, far and thin. Some way, embers hiss as sap bursts quietly inside a log. Helen closes her eyes, not knowing how loudly history will one day say her name. Tonight, history is only a coal beneath copper, barley's faint memory in the dark, and the promise that dawn will again taste of nutty smoke and mild honey. In the pale hour before sunrise, Mount Ida's slopes rest in quiet violet hush. Dew beads on olive leaves and wildflowers bend under their weight. Birds wake in muffled half-songs, as though testing chords before the day begins. Helen, now 13, stands a narrow window carved in pale stone. She traces the slender trunk of a holm oak outside her chamber, watching silver light pool on each leaf's edge. Hey, in this gentle morning, no hint of divine mischief has yet fallen. Last night, an old messenger arrived at the palace gate, a man wrapped in treble stains, eyes bright with rumor. He carries leather scroll cases heavy with tales, kings gathering armies, ships building beneath southern stars, and a golden apple cast in discord. Helen listened from a courtyard, where servants sweep smooth flagstones. The messenger's voice is low, peppered with salt spray and wind. Each word falls like a pebble in still water, rippling destinies beyond the palace walls. While courtiers gather gossip, Helen's nurse presses white laurel blossoms into her hair. Together they walk to the little shrine of Artemis tucked behind the stables. A bronze bowl holds pure spring water. A single locust branch floats within. Helen pours the water onto smooth stone, then ties a sprig of laurel to the carved stag's antler. She breathes in the clean scent, green, sharp, and free of human weight. For a moment old promises and quarrels lie forgotten beneath temple shadows. In the loom room, Spools of fine wool wait arranged like dancers in a silent ballet. At a single warp thread, Helen's mother threads a single gold-colored strand, gift of a far-traveled peddler, to the tapestry showing board games and scholars debating beneath plane trees. Helen sits beside her, tracing the gold thread with fingertip. She imagines each stitch as a choice, to stay, to leave, to crown, or to curse. The tapestry remains calm, no battle scenes, only careful hands guiding gentle wool through slow rhythms. In the corner of the court, 3 goddesses stand on an invisible stage, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. They have not yet heard the word apple, but a lone figure in white steps forward. From his satchel he withdraws a simple golden disc, an apple engraved for the fairest. Helen watches from behind a column. All eyes settle on the apple's smooth gleam. The goddess's robes brush marble. No one yet speaks, yet the air tightens with silent questions. Who is fairest, and by whose measure? Helen never expected an apple to matter to her, yet now courtiers whisper in hushed parlors. Suitors and ambassadors rustle silk as they discuss beauty, power, and promise. Tiles click beneath dancing slippers. Chamber doors close softly. Helen ponders in a quiet room where shelves hold little scroll boxes of childhood poems. She opens one, smooths a verse she wrote about stars. Stars know nothing of fairest talk. She thinks. Their light simply shines, undivided. Long after dinner, a tutor lights an oil lamp in the garden alcove. He unwraps papyrus scrolls telling of golden apples in far-off groves beneath the setting sun. Helen sits cross-legged on marble benches, listening to verses woven with laurel songs and pomegranate myths. She cups her hands around the lamp, feeling its soft warmth. The tutor's voice drones, beauty, worth, envy, reward. Helen notes each word but files them gently, like petals in a hidden book, to be examined later, after sleep steals the sharp edges. A day later, Helen wanders into the bed of white roses behind the palace. The petals are soft as clouds, faintly perfumed with honey and earth. There, standing among silent blooms, she glimpses 3 women, each crowned in a simple wreath. They smile but do not speak. Their steps stir the flowers, and the petals drift like slow snow. Helen, breath caught, feels both welcome and warned. Some choices come wrapped in beauty's quiet cloak. In the afternoon hush, sparrows flock to her windowsill, each chirp a tiny question. She shares crumbs, closes her eyes, and imagines each bird carries pieces of the apple's riddle to corners beyond her reach. When the sparrows scatter, she feels their freedom in her chest. Perhaps making a choice can be as quiet and as light as letting birds decide where to fly. From a high balcony, Helen watches the sea fold into itself with every passing cloud. The horizon blurs where water meets sky, violet bleeding into rose. She hugs a linen cloak around her shoulders against the salt breeze. A fisherman rows home, oars whispering against dark water. In his stern flickers a lantern, small as promise. Helen imagines the apple afloat on these waves. Where might it land when tossed from this shore? Torchbearers line the corridors for an evening gathering. Doors open onto lowered halls where elders debate marriage alliances, fairest deeds, and city fortunes. Their voices echo, then hush, then echo again, always careful, never loud. Helen slips away to a side passage, letting the murmurs drift behind. She pauses by a wall mosaic, Intertwined swans gliding on water. No gold apple apiece, only gentle curves. She touches a swan's beak with a fingertip, feeling warmth where stone meets flesh. Back in her chamber, Helen's nurse pours warm tea made of rose petals and mint. Helen sips slowly, feeling each taste unfold, a memory of summer days in the palace garden. She breathes in the steam, fragrant and soft, watching the shadows dance on the walls. Tonight she dreams of apples falling through branches, petals drifting through corridors, and questions that spiral like the tea's steam. The next morning, Helen rises again before the world stirs. She finds the apple on a marble pedestal in the courtyard, a single, perfect orb of gold leaf. No one claims to have placed it there. She touches its smooth surface, feeling a slight warmth where the sun first glanced. She does not bite. Instead, she lifts it, holds it like a fragile secret, and slips away to a private alcove beneath the vine arbor. Under tangled grapevines, sunlight filters emerald green. Helen rests the apple on a stone seat and studies its gleam. Birds twitter unseen, branches sway without wind. She closes her eyes and makes a promise to herself, the apple, and deeply hidden corners of her heart, not to choose the brightest voice, but the calmest path. In the breakfast hall, Helen's mother arranges bowls of fresh figs and barley cakes. She invites Helen to sit beside her. With soft eyes, she speaks of balance, of carrying light as gently as one cradles a child. She does not mention the apple or fate. Instead, she says, "True beauty, my daughter, is the quiet that follows when all clamor falls away." Helen tastes honey, barley, and mother's wisdom, blending them like a single flavor on her tongue. At midday, the tutor resumes lessons beneath an olive colonnade. He quills delicate letters into wax tablets, each stroke slow as thought. Helen traces the shapes of letters unseen: eta, epsilon, lambda, epsilon, nu, eta, her own name, carved gently into wax, ready for new meanings tomorrow. She lays the apple beside her tablet, its gold soft against white marble, and wonders which language treasures calm above all else. As evening falls, soft gold glances off every surface. Copper bowls, limestone walls, Helen's pale gown. She stands in the courtyard with the apple cradled against her waist, watching firelight flicker in the brazier. She breathes in the hush, embers breathing, olive leaves rustling, distant waves sighing. The apple warms in her hands, a beacon of quiet promise. The priestess returns with a polished lid. Helen meets her by moonlight. Together they lift the lid and set the apple atop the still glowing coals. In a single breath, they place the promise into flame. The apple's gold leaf softens and drifts away in curling ribbons of smoke, as gentle as dreams dissolving at dawn. Next morning, only the faint outline of the apple remains in ash. Helen kneels and brushes it free, revealing pale marble. 5 grains of barley lie scattered around. No sign of fire's anger, only memory of warmth. She gathers the grains, each one now an echo of her promise, to choose gently, speak softly, and walk without haste. Helen stands once more at her window, Mount Ida's ridge drawn in silver silhouette. She holds a single barley grain between thumb and forefinger, watching sky awaken. No golden apple remains, but in its place glimmers a quieter treasure, her own small promise, as steady as the sunrise. Before dawn, the harbor lies wrapped in silvery mist. Masts rise like silent sentinels, their tops lost in haze. Wooden hulls lean quietly against gentle swell. Helen stands off on the deck of Menelaus's ship, no sail yet unfurled, feeling dew on her bare arms, the air taste of salt and pine smoke from a distant lamp. Every puff of breeze seems to breathe promise and uncertainty in equal measure. No horns trum departure, only the gentle slap of water against timber. Below deck, sailors transfer clay jars of barley, amphorae of olive oil, and crates of fresh figures. Each crate lands with soft thud, with grain settling deeper into the ship's ribs. Helen watches from the companionway, her skirts pulled at the step. She notes how the jar's rims are sealed with rosemary sprigs, tying fragrant wreaths of green to plain clay. She imagines these provisions will taste of home even when the horizon rips away familiar shapes. Menelaus, weary from war's old stories, leans toward Helen on the quarterdeck. His voice is low, as though the sea itself might overhear. He speaks not of conquest but of safe passages, of mapping currents and reading Gulf flight at dawn. Helen listens, turning each syllable in her mind like a polished bead. This voyage is not a charge of armies, but a crossing of water's calm road. Their goals, Ithaca's windrows, Rhodes' columns, Crete's olive groves. A small altar of driftwood and whitewashed stone stands at the prow. Helen carries a cup of cool water, stepping barefoot across juicy planks. She pours a libation, letting droplets fall in measured rhythm. Beneath the drop she hears a whisper, sea foam sighing, offering companionship on this long crossing. She sprinkles 2 grains of barley into the cup's base as thanks, one for safe passage, one for gentle hearts awaiting her return. The crew moves like clockwork. Tarred ropes are coiled, decks swept with curving strokes, nets neatly folded. Each motion is unhurried yet precise. Helen joins them, sweeping near the mast base. The bristles catch stray oat husks from breakfast. She leans on the broom's handle, eyes closing to see spray, letting rhythm guide her mind into a slow meditation. Sweeping not waste away, but sweeping calm into restless spirits. Below, the tapestry chest rocked through the vessel's heartbeat. Helen descends a narrow companionway to inspect her mother's loom, braced under the quarter cabins. The frame is fixed, but the hanging threads sway like reeds in water. She touches a braid of dusty rose wool and hums a soft tune. Each thread's tension matters. A tug too tight makes cloth chant with strain. Too loose invites slack. The loom, like the ship, needs balance to hold stories in place. On deck's lee side, a narrow bed of herbs rides in cedar boxes. Thyme, mint, lavender. Helen kneels in sheltered shade, snipping a sprig of lavender for headache's hush, mint for restless sleep, and thyme for breath made soft. She ties bundles with flax cord and tucks them beneath the prow's rail, where sea winds dry them gently. Soon their scents will mingle in the night's cabernet, a simple anchor of home at every port. When the sun reaches her shoulders, sails unfurl in pale cream against blue sky. The ship glides forward in a steady hush. Crew loosens ropes, rests on tiller benches, sharing water and pomegranates. Helen stretches out on a coil of rope, eyes half closed. She lets the boat sway, rock her thoughts toward home. The cedar chest with the blankets, the hearth's ember memories, soft lessons at the loom. Each recollection warms her chest like liquid honey in cold air. By midday they pass a worn shoreline dotted with gleaming white temples. Helen spots statues of ancient kings carved into the bluffs. She leans on the rail, wind catching her braid, and marvels at stone faces carved from time itself. She wonders if memory lives in rock, as it does in hearts. Each statue seems a silent sentinel guarding history she has only begun to learn. A midday meal appears on low crates. Small fish, salt-dusted, roasted on skews. Flatbread slathered with fresh olive oil, olives brined in rosemary brine. They eat in silence, voices too soft to crack the day's calm. Helen drizzles oil into her palm, no bowl needed, and sips each bite slowly, like tasting sunlight frozen to earth. Salt lingers on lips, olive oil trails on tongue, memory of home on every chew. Un or splintered during docking. Helen retrieves sanded patches of pine resin from a sailor's belt. She warms a piece on hot deck planks, presses the resin into crack, presses a scrap of linen over it, smoothing until flush. The resin cools into deer-horn strength. She thinks of her resolve. Small repairs today save grand disasters tomorrow. Each careful patch holds promise for smooth crossings still ahead. A few crew gather under the sail shade, leaning backs against stowed cargo. An older sailor begins a tale. No great battles, only a memory of his first sea voyage as a boy, passing by upturned turtles and dolphins chasing nets. His voice lilts in calm waves. Helen leans close, eyes bright, imagining the breeze on a younger cheek. Tonight she will dream of turtles and dolphins, not of storms or swords. Helen returns to the loom chest, laying out soft panels of half-stitched tapestry. She peels back a corner to find her mother's image half-woven, a figure kneeling before a hearth. She traces the threads in silence, feeling how cloth can hold warmth. She dips a finger in well water, wets a stray strand, smoothing it back into place. In weaving, she and her mother speak without words, sharing morning barley and nightly quiet. Sun moves westward, sails shifting into gentle bands of gold and shadow. The sea narrows to a horizon stripe. Helen sits cross-legged near the prow, her skirts hem brushing deck planks. She closes her eyes, letting salt air fill her nostrils. The wind hums a lullaby against the rope rigging. She breathes in with the tide, breathes out with a small gull's cry. Time rests here, neither past nor future, only this endless now. By dusk they pass a settlement of whitewashed huts crowned with palm fronds. Smoke curls from clay ovens. Children's laughter drifts across the water. Helen picks a bay leaf from a fallen branch tied to the rail and breathes its cool scent. She wonders which god watches over fishermen's homes, which goddess demands midday bread. She bows her head, offering the leaf as thanks for safe passage and new sights. As sunset ignites the sky, the ship's surfaces glow burnished. Ropes turn to threads of copper, barrels gleam like ochre moons. Helen walks the deck, fingers grazing wood warmed by dying light. Each touch bays wonder, that day and night can both be treasures. She pauses to step barefoot on deck where a single plank, once gray, now burns soft amber under her foot. Night falls soft, lantern flames lit inside the wheelhouse and galley. An attendant washes bronze bowls for tomorrow's breakfast, water pooling silver in the hold. Helen lights a small lamp by a bunk, thick beeswax wick burning low. She arranges her new herbs and the battered pieces of tapestry beside her. Each object whispers security in this shifting world. Under her blankets, Helen remembers the courtyard halfback in Sparta. She feels its warmth behind eyelids as keen as a mother's hand. She counts each glowing ember tucked beneath copper lids, and each image of Hestia's fire fuels her dreams. Tonight she will dream of barley pops instead of crashing waves. A third of the crew stands watch, leaning against rail. From their post, they sing quiet chants, ancient rhythms as old as salt and stone. Helen's eyes flutter open. She imagines herself weaving chant and sea into tapestry strips. She hums along until they end, quiet as tide receding. Hours later, Helen's hand rises to brush the window of her cabin's port. Pale light appears on sea line. She steps out to find dawn's first canoe light, thin silver stroke. She breathes, tasting promise of fresh lands. Each day's end and start are miraculous. She knows, if noticed. Early sailors drum on timbers as lines cast ashore, knuckles nepping stone. Helen gives 2 barley grains to the dock priest, tiny altar of driftwood. She sprinkles them at her feet, bowing low. The scroll of waves holds the harbor's deepest secret, that no journey ends without gentle gratitude. Merchant stalls by the quay glint with silks and spices. Helen wanders among earthen jars, scented with cinnamon, cumin, rose water. A trader offers saffron in a copper cup. She closes her eyes to inhale golden notes, summer fields folded into stamen threads. She buys a pinch, tucks it in linen pouch to carry winter sun. A village girl offers seashells, mother of pearl glimmering in early sun. Helen accepts, pockets one small spiral. For memory, the girl whispers, before skipping away to chase a drifting dog. Helen holds the shell to air. She hears salt slides in and out, a quiet echo of ocean's lullaby. Menelaus' ship readies to depart again at midday. Helen stands on the dock, seafoam licking planks. Hands pressed to her heart as old friends wave farewell. She lifts saffron pouch, shell, bay leaf, tokens of quiet villages, and tucks them close. She bows to the distant shore, made bright by morning's dance. As sails fill with breeze once more, Helen settles off for another stretch of still sea. The horizon curves gentle invitation. Waves murmur soft accompaniment. She closes her eyes, feeling the world slide beneath her as she returns to the slow rhythm of deck chores, tapestry, prayers, and hushed hopes. Issa waits, carrying whispers of Troy's walls. But first, this steady voyage of quiet wonder. Before the city stirs, dawn slips a thin veil of silver haze through Troy's 7 gates. Walls of sun-baked brick stand silent, their surface still painted in the night shadows. Helen, now 17, peers from an upper window carved in stone. Below, torches flicker in the guard posts, one by one surrender to sunrise. She places a gentle palm against the cool sill, feeling the city's slow inhale. Hey, amid stories of war and heroism, she finds a hush as deep and constant as any sea. Behind high walls, private courtyards cradle fig trees and grape arbors. In her own courtyard, Helen walks barefoot on smooth flagstones. A small pool of rainwater from last night's shower mirrors morning light. She stoops to touch the water surface, still, cool, reflective. Each ripple she makes carries a silhouette into soft infinity. She breathes in the scent of fig leaves warmed by dawn, letting calm settle in her chest. Beyond her courtyard door the palace kitchens wake in gentle clamor. Clay pans clink. Olive oil simmers in bronze vessels. An attendant ladles barley porridge sweetened, with pomegranate molasses. Helen carries a shallow bowl back to a courtyard bench. Sitting among clay pots of lavender and mint, she savors each spoonful, warm, thick, faintly tart. The taste reminds her of Spartan mornings, yet here it feels new, tinged with distant spice caravans. Helen lifts a length of fine linen from a cedar chest. Its folds once wrapped her mother's shoulders on wedding day. Now the veil lies soft as morning mist. She drapes it over her head, letting fabric catch dew and sunlight. Threads glint pale gold where artisans wove minute patterns of laurel leaves. Helen breathes beneath lace and linen, imagining ancestors who first wore this veil at altar's hush. Marble corridors wind through the palace like river branches. Helen's sandals whisper on polished floors, a muted accompaniment. Tapestries line the walls. Battle scenes faded into soft archaeology. She touches one, feeling a thread loosen under her fingertip. The tapestry's colors remain, deep indigo, earthen red, neutral tan. Yet the image feels distant, like memory of a dream about someone else's life. In a cool side chamber, Helen sits before a low table. A tutor's gloved hand guides a stylus across a wax tablet. Each letter forms slowly. Eta, epsilon, lambda, epsilon, nu, eta, Helen's own name. Then follows words of caution from an old rhyme. Soft words mend, harsh words mal. She repeats the verses, voice low enough for only the tutor and walls to hear. The wax cools, smoothing beneath the stylus like water under stone. Stones slope upward to Athena's high temple, her statue poised in silent vigil. Helen enters on soft sand, sandals off, placing them beside others in neat rows. She offers a single pomegranate seed at the altar's foot. The priestess accepts it with bowed head, tucks it into a bronze bowl of rice. Inside the temple's hush, Helen closes her eyes, listening to distant drips echo in vaulted chambers. Hey, war's goddess seems to sigh for quieter days yet to come. Returning home, Helen pauses at the loom room's open doorway. Strings of linen hang in soft arrays, silent shuttles waiting their turn. She steps inside, heart steady. Her mother's latest tapestry shows Trojan women planting olives, a scene of gentle industry. Helen runs a finger along the pattern, a small owl, a budding branch. No horses or shields, only women at work. Roots deepening in soil the way family roots deepen in hearts. In the shaded loggia, servants spread woven mats on stone floors. Platters arrive, ripe figs halved like moons, cheese pressed into honeycomb, flatbread steaming softly. Helen reclines on cushions, brushing stray lock behind her ear as she eats. She sips cool wine mixed with rose water, faint blush of flower on tongue. Voices drift from open windows, merchants bargaining, children's games, an old man reciting line from Homer. The city hums. Helen savors its subdued melody. In a quiet niche, Helen finds a small box of gleaming apples carved in silver. They rest on velvet, tiny echoes of the gold apple that once shone in Sparta. She takes one apple effigy in hand and turns it slowly, feeling weightless promise. No longer meant to sow discord, here it marks wisdom, choice made in peace. She places it back, heart lighter than the first day she saw gilded fruit. From the battlements, Helen gazes out to fields of grain waving under sun. Citizens work in ordered rows, sickle and sheaf moving like slow dancers. Beyond lies the sea glinting far off, calling in silver lullabies. Helen rests her chin on stonework smooth as river-worn marble. She invites each site to teach patience. Grain must grow, tides must turn by their own schedules. An attendant brings embers from the public hearth below into Helen's private hearth. She watches, entranced, as coals glow bright amid ash. She scatters tiny grains of barley across the hearthstone, not for breakfast, but to honor home no matter where hearth stands. The grains pop quietly, folding Helen's Spartan past into Trojan present. She feels both roots intertwining, one in Ida's rising slopes, one here, behind these massive gates. Lord Priam invites Helen and Clytemnestra to evening council beneath lantern glow. No swords gleam, no war cries ring, only measured voices planning city repays, grain stores, festival dates. Helen follows along, surprising herself by noting each decision's soft impact. A woman's weaving class there, new wells here. She realizes leadership can be neither drama nor decry. It can be careful tending of daily tasks. After council, Helen slips out to the sacred spring below palace walls. Moonlight glitters on water, reflecting rock walls carved with Trojan ancestors. She fills a small cup, tastes its cool sweetness, then sprinkles droplets on her temples. She closes her eyes, letting sacred water wash away day's worries. When she opens them, only the gentle ripple of ancestors' faces greets her. Back in her courtyard, Helen finds night-blooming jasmine and datura open wide. Petals glow pale as ghosts beneath lanterns. She gathers a small spray, tucks it into her hay. The fragrance of moonlight blooms lingers as she moves toward her chamber. Tonight she carries the garden's hush into her dreams. In the corridor, servants hang glass lanterns painted in cobalt and azure. Within each, beeswax wicks burn low, casting ocean-colored pools of light. Helen pauses beneath one, tilts her face upward. She imagines waves lapping unseen shores, a distant lullaby of trade winds and coral reefs. She hums a sliver of that lullaby, letting it ease her steps to bed. Helen sits on a cedar trunk beside her bed. She bundles small scraps from her mother's tapestry, the gold thread from the olive motif, the blue wool from the sheep scene. She ties them into neat knots and stores them in a cloth pouch beneath her pillow. Each knot holds a memory: morning barley, courtyard figs, council's hush. These threads will keep her connected, no matter where dawn finds her. A servant returns embers to the public hearth, closing the lid with a soft sigh. Helen imagines that embers glow traveling through hidden passages to her hearth, cradling her dreams. She gestures a silent thanks, as though acknowledging a friend unseen. Though Troy stands secure for now, exile's breeze lingers in rumor. Helen lies on a pallet, staring at ceiling beams mottled with moonlight. She whispers blessing for safe journeys, whether by sea or by fate, knowing all journeys end in home's quiet embrace. At last, eyelids grow heavy. Helen breathes in, letting each chamber's hush seep into her bones. She imagines a courtyard hearth reawaken, barley scattering, shawls rustling in dawn breeze. Promise of tomorrow's dawn sings in each breath. In sleep, she carries Troy's quiet rooms, Spartan hearth's memory, and hopes for gentle days yet to unfold.